Welcome, everyone. Merry Christmas, and I hope you have a very wonderful day with your family. I'm doing my upcycling project, and for this one, I've decided to do some stars that you can use to decorate for New Year's. So this is a nice bold red print, and this is how it looks. It's two pieces stacked on top of each other, and they're 4-point stars each to make a nice 8-point star. I loved how this plaid worked out where the design is actually upright. And I started off, this was my first one that I made, and I used two different papers. These two stars use a 5-inch paper, and they're really nice and sturdy. When I started off with my first one, I started off with a 6-inch paper, and I noticed that it wasn't as sturdy, so I put a 5-inch paper on top, and that really helped hold it together. These are really easy to make, and they don't require very many tools or supplies. So I love this silvery snowflake paper. It is a little bit thicker than some of those really thin wraps. Some of your papers will have a grid mark on the inside. Even if they do, I do like to trim them up cleanly using my Guillotine trimmer. So I'm trimming this paper up to be a 5 by 5, and I'll do the same for the second piece of paper. The folding technique is really super easy as well. So since we have a square, we're going to start off and we're going to go point to point. And once you make sure that you have that lined up, you can just use your fingers, since the paper is nice and thin, and just crease along the fold. Then you can open up your paper and turn it to the other side and do another point to point. And again, make sure that you match those up. Again, just crease it with your fingers and make sure you get point to point. So the next fold is really super simple as well. So now we're going to fold edge to edge. So we're going to pull up the bottom and match that up with the top. And once that's well aligned, I'll crease the bottom with my fingers from side to side. Then I'll open up the paper once again and do the same to the other side to create that rectangle. Make sure that I have it really well lined up before I add my creases, and then I can press it down with my fingers. So that's it for all of the folding. The next thing to do is to cut right on that fold with your scissors. I'm going to cut about 1.5 inches up, and just make sure that I have enough in the center. I'm going to make sure that I get right on that fold line, and I'm not cutting all the way to the center. And I'll do this on all 4 of those folds. So next I'm going to pull that cut edge and I'm going to crease it right to that diagonal fold edge and make sure I get right all the way down to that point, and then I can crease this with my fingers. And once I have that good and creased, I can pull the other side up and do the same. I can match it to that center fold of that diagonal, have that really well lined up, and then I'll crease it with my fingers. And I'm going to do that to all 4 sides of this square paper. I'm going to speed this up a little bit, but I'm going to show you the entire process. When I have one piece, I'm going to do the same thing to the second piece for that second layer that sits on top. And I'm going to make sure I have all these folds nice and tight right down to that pointy edge, which really matters once we have the next step. Okay, so now I have both of my pieces all folded and ready to go. And what we're going to do next is I'm going to crease these just a little bit to make sure those folds are nice and tight. But what I'm going to do is to use my glue. You could use hot glue, but I do like to use wet glue because it gives me a little bit of drying time, and it folds flat, or once it's dry it sits flat. So I'm going to go right on that edge and just do a line of glue, and then I can pull that flap right over to the edge and connect it with the glue. So it's sitting edge to edge, and now it's forming that 3D look. And I'll wipe off any excess glue. So I'm going to hold this for a second, and I'm going to do the same thing to all 4 sides, and both top and bottom, so both pieces of my paper. Okay, so I've sped this up a little bit. I work slowly, and I just want to make sure that I have everything connected. So once again, I'm folding that one edge over and making sure I get all the way down to that pointy place. And I do love the wet glue because I do have time to make adjustments if I need it. And I do love our tacky glue because it dries fairly fast. So as I work through this, I'm just going to connect all 4 pieces on both top and bottom. Once I have it glued, I'm going to go back in and I'm going to pinch these creases to make sure that they're nice and sharp. And then once I have this completed, I can go ahead and start gluing my second piece. Now that I have both pieces done, one will sit upright and the other will sit at an angle. And you're going to want to place some glue on the inside. So I'm going to start off by adding glue just inside those cut marks that I made earlier. And I'll do this on all 4 sides. And then for extra measure, I'm going to add some glue to the top of each of those points to make sure that I get some connection once I set this down in place. And I want to make sure that I have it lined up and it fits right into those creases of the paper. So once I have that set down, I'm going to let this sit and dry. And I'm going to work and show you on how to add a string attachment if you want to attach these to some lights for decoration, or you can just have them sitting around in a bowl. So on the back side, I am going to work on one of the back pieces that will sit vertically, and I've cut some twine. It's silver cording that'll really go well together with all of my pieces. So I'm going to do a generous amount of glue on the back, and I have that little knot at the bottom, and I'm just going to place this right into the glue and allow that to sit and dry until that's nice and secure. For this, you could use a hot glue gun if you wanted to secure this really quickly. So I hope you like my upcycling wrapping paper idea. I do like graphic style papers, and I think these work really well to create stars and other decorations for New Year's. These will look super cute on a string of lights, and I do have some supplies listed for you below in the description box. And on our blog post, I have a diagram for you on how to create all those folds. I hope you have a very happy holiday, and thanks so much for watching.
Hi there, I'm Heidi, Simon's mama and founder at simonsaysstamp.com. Thank you so much for watching our video. If you like what you just saw, be sure to press the thumbs up and subscribe to see more great content.